the thing that I get out of your article wasn't really so much about you being anti-sex work, or sex worker, I should say. You do really kind of push a message of being of against Johns and pimps in particular too. And those, I mean, the where you're citing instances of violence, that seems to be the origin of those instances, and you're saying about the relationship being naturally antagonistic between a prostitute and a John.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I love the women that I worked with. In many ways, I consider them my sisters because you go through something that almost nobody else. No, you know what? Unless you've gone through it, you will never understand what it's like. And so I do consider them my sisters. The Johns, however, and the Pimps, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Very simply.
Well, did you ever have any experience with directly with any sort of pimps, or because I might have missed it on your article, but I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so I was never, pimped out. However, there are 3 incidents involving pimps that I can talk about directly. Mm-hmm. One is that, I was working with my friend in a hotel in Sacramento, and this pimp had, come to see her as a client, and he ended up threatening us pretty much and saying that, we take money away from the so-called real hoes, the real girls. Mm-hmm. What he really meant is that we take money away from him, because he can't profit, and accumulate money in the same way he could with women that he entraps as their pimp. The second thing is that there was a man that I was, interested in, and he tried to abuse my relationship with him to try and pimp me out, basically.
Wow.
And sell me so that he could sell me along with cocaine and basically make money off me. And it's just like, well, that's such a great, love story. And then the third thing is that when I left the sex trade, I couldn't do it anymore because of, PTSD from rape. And I, maybe we shouldn't call it disorder, because there's nothing disorderly about it. It's a natural response to trauma. But, at that point, I was living in a women's shelter, and there were women who were escaping their pimps. They had, I think some people were like, oh, she believes tattoos are a sign of gang activity. It's like, no, I'm saying that it's extremely common, if not always uniform, that pimps brand the women that they sell with tattoos, denoting who their pimp is. And these women had those matching tattoos in the same area. They were escaping their pimp. He was violent towards them, and they needed a shelter to hide out in. So those are my 3 real experiences with pimps.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony just read, he was reading some Iceberg Slim.
Yeah, I went ahead and read that. I mean, if there's not a better microcosm for capitalism at large, I mean, I haven't seen it, but it is very much, it's kind of like a haywire version of capitalism when you think about it. When you think about the relationship between a pimp and the women that he has really entrapped in some way, there's a mental aspect to it where you create an atmosphere where you can exploit the labor of the sex workers, and then you can amass wealth off of the back of somebody else doing all the work. That's essentially what it is. You're getting somebody to do all the work for you, and you collect all the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and, I think something needs to be said too about looking at how prostitution emerged as an institution, as a practice. And, back in ancient Mesopotamia, I mean, men who would prostitute women, enslaved women that were prostituted, would show off their captive women as signs of their power and wealth. And you see that today in the way that, listen to any mainstream music and it's, showing off women, the hoes, right by their cars and the money that they have, or even the way that a lot of men even just use prostitutes in terms of like, oh, I have these so-called, bad bitches that I was able to buy with my money, and that's somehow a sign of my power and dominance, which is again why I think that prostitution, like other forms of rape, is more about power than it is about anything else.